I'm making Jamie do this. This box, this is what started the whole fossil thing. When we lived in our other house, he had this box of fossils. And I said, what is that? And then he said, it's his fossils. And I said, why don't you do something with them? And he said, I said, you should display them. All right, so that's how he said, okay, I'm going to do a fireplace with them all in. But the problem was,
I don't know if it was
he didn't use any of these for the fireplace. But he's forgotten what's even in here.
Well, I have up to my ranch in the old cabin up there, I've got 2 or 3 boxes of fossils. I don't know what's in any of these boxes.
But this one's been in the closet ever since we moved in here, never been looked at, never touched. And I said, I want you to go through that.
And see this, when we built the house, this box was here and got textured with the sheetrock texture.
Spray
when we...
It weighs about 50 pounds.
Quite heavy.
So we're going to open this. I'm making him and tell about it. Okay, wait just a minute. All right, here we go. I had to plug my phone in.
This will be kind of a mystery to me because I don't remember what's in any of these boxes.
Merry Christmas.
It's like a Christmas present. These are fossil fern leaves. They're on both sides. This rock layer came out of Pennsylvania. There's a lot of coal beds. This is coal. And these fossil ferns turned white. Here's little round leaf type plants. Anyway, I got the privilege of getting a bunch of these. Looks like I have more of them here. They came out of the coal there in Pennsylvania, which is about 300 million years ago. Most of the coal in the United States was formed in 2 time periods. One of them was called the Mississippian, from the Mississippi coal. And one is called the Permian time period, from all of this Pennsylvania coal. No, it's the Pennsylvanian period, from the Pennsylvanian coal. I think I just said that wrong. And this stuff falls apart. It just kind of shatters up in little pieces. And so that's why
there's more.
Must be another one down in here.
I have to be careful not to interrupt him or ask questions. Where did you get those?
I think this is the piece that fell apart and I glued it back on. Some of the pieces are missing I can't remember. We probably got them out of a rock shop somewhere. They're quite delicate and they fall apart quite a bit. And then when I did masonry work, we got rocks from up around Forson, Wyoming. And that's rock that came out of the Green River Formation. And this rock is a rock that I found, and it has a fossil fish in it. And the fossils down at Kemmer there at Fossil Lake down there, they're what they call the positive impression. The fossil sets on top and sticks up. Whereas the ones out of the Green River Formation, and I don't even know which rock layer this happened to be, which member of the rock layer, but in the Green River Formation, it's the negative impression. And it's like the fish has been pressed into the rock and then the fish is all gone and it's just the impression of the fish bones and stuff that are left in the rock. And they said if you put a plaster of Paris or something over this and cast it to create your positive impression, that these negative impressions show finer detail, and you can just even count the little rings of growth on the fish scales. And anyway, they come in thin, wafy sheets.
Breakable.
Yeah, they're kind of fragile. This one here, the nose of the fish is gone right here. But that's what this is. This is one that I found up out of the rocks out of around Farson, Wyoming. Here's another piece of that rock. It's got a little fish down in here. This is not as fragile as this stuff.
I bet when you found it, you were real excited. You found it in the ground?
Here's another piece of this. Well, it's just laying all over the ground. And now this. Here's a coiled ammonite that I found somewhere up in the hills. A lot of these rocks I found around. This is kind of a hodgepodge of a lot of different things. I don't even know where they found them, but these little ammonite coiled shells, they went extinct when the dinosaurs went extinct, all the ammonites. And then we got a couple of rocks that had, let's see what this is. These are kind of dark in here to show. These are some shell that came out of down in the western part of Colorado. It's called the Paradise Formation down there. And it's trying to think if it was Lake Uena or Lake Gossett that was down in, I think it was Lake Uena. But anyway, in the Paradise Formation, there's a few rock layers down there. And I don't know if you see anything on here, but right here is a fly.
Oh, yeah, I see it.
Yeah, I don't know if you can see the fossil fly. And anyway, we got these shells, and then we found a few, and then we cut them out. I think I probably cut these out square. This one's got another fly, and if you look on them, there's a nice little fly across right there. These are all fly fossils. Oh, here's one that looks up. Look at this little gnat. Can you see the little fly? And this is a piece of fool's gold.
Are you sure?
I think we bought this in a rock store right here. I don't think I found this one. Right here, you could go through all these little chunks, but you can see the little fly right here on this fossil. The fly is dark. Anyway, a lot of these little rocks have flies on them. And that's why they were saved.
What about this one?
This is just a little fossil shell that eroded out. Probably erosion took the softer layers out and it left this little shell, little coiled up shell. I don't know, a lot of this in this box are just the little things and flies, some of the different stuff like that. I could probably stack these and rearrange them better than what I have.
Okay, what next?
Now, during the Permian and the Mississippian time period, they're collectively known as the Carboniferous period because most of the coal in the world formed during that Carboniferous period. And one of the reasons that coal formed during the Carboniferous period was because certain types of bacteria that decay the wood, that make the wood decay and rot away, had not evolved at that point. And the big forests, there was a lot of low swampy ground all over the world at that time period, and the big forests would grow and the trees would fall and they wouldn't decay. So their mass built up in big, heavy, giant layers of peat. And then those layers turned into all of these coal beds. And later on, those bacteria that erodes the wood evolved, and then we just didn't get the big, massive layers of peat in the rock strata after that. And I think there was one of the trees I should know the names. I've heard it 100 times, but I can't keep it in my mind. Anyway, one of the big main trees that grew back in those times, they were kind of a type of cycad, I think, that had like palm branches coming out, and everywhere the branch came out, it left a scale when they budded out. Anyway, the bark of these big cycad trees were lumpy like this. This is an impression of the bark that got, of the tree that got pushed down into the, and so these trees, you can recognize the petrified wood and the different things from these trees because they have this this lumpy appearance to the trunks and the bark and the stuff in them. And so anyway, this is a impression of the tree bark from back in the Carboniferous period. And then, I don't know if this one, I don't know where this came from. There's a leaf on the back. This is a heavy rock too, and it's got a really nice leaf. I wished I could remember more about this one. I don't know where it came from, but it is real heavy. And I have to be careful putting these heavy ones on the, oh my, all kinds of stuff in here. And then most of these rocks that look like this, these are just fossils that came out of down here around Kemmer in the Fossil Butte National Monument. This is just the tail is right here and the head is up here. It's just a little chunk of fish. This really isn't much of a fossil. And here's a fossil that I chipped out, and then I painted this on here. This is a nidea. And nideas were real common down there in the Fossil Butte National Monument. The nidea is a freshwater, it evolved from saltwater herring, but they got trapped inside the land, and then the water they lived in slowly turned freshwater, and this nidea species adapted to freshwater. And so it's kind of a freshwater herring. Its ancestors were saltwater. And anyway, this is a really, really nice specimen. And some of the specimens are in this kind of shell. And this is really, really hard. Whereas a lot of your big fossil beds come in this softer stuff. Anyway, this soft stuff's easy to chip out, and this really hard rock takes a lot of effort to chip it out. But this is one that I chipped out and cut it rounded. And anyway, this is a really nice one. I don't know who I'll give that one away to someday, my grandkid somewhere.
Maybe Trevor for his classroom.
And then we got a bunch of these harder rock layers down there. And in some of those harder rock layers, here's a bird feather that we found. And these rock layers are all full of all kinds of, there's a few mammal skeletons, and there's a lot of crocodile and turtle skeletons and bat skeletons and bird skeletons and everything in them. But anytime something flew over these big lakes and then couldn't make it back or whatever, they got out in the middle of the lake and drowned, and then they ended up becoming fossilized. And anyway, bird feathers are quite rare. So this is a 50 million year old bird feather. Here's just another one of these big thick layers of rock that has a fossil fish. This is a Prispacara. You can tell from these spines on it. I gotta be careful laying these down. I got a lot of fossils in here, I can see.
You packed it well.
And this is a really nice impression of a nidea. And it looks like on the back side we got another one back here. And there was a fossil in here that never got exposed. Maybe it's rotted away or something. Didn't make a good fossil there. I got a lot of them in here. And this one was, this is like this real hard rock, only this, the darker the rock is this way, the harder it is. This is almost hard and glassy. And I didn't have to do any chipping to expose the fossil. This is just another Nidia fossil. It almost looks like the backbone is a negative impression in it. Maybe I got this one out in that rock from Forson, Wyoming. I don't know. And some of these are just odds, and I think these are the rock from Forson, Wyoming. These are negative imprints of the fossil. Some of the fossils we found. We brought a whole load of rock back to do a fireplace down in Bedford, Wyoming for a guy. And I didn't put these in his fireplace if they were rocks that I found somewhere. I kept some of them. Here's another little Nidia fossil. It's going to take me a while to repack this. And then I found this rock down. This is just the tail of a fish. It probably had back in the cliff, probably was the rest of the fish. And we tried everything we could to see if we could find the rest of the fish. But we can recognize the tail. And this is that Myopolis. We got a bunch of Myopolises out here. These are the ancestor to the trout and the perch. And this is just the tail. And I hadn't found very many Myopolises when I went down to Kimmer with the kids and took my boys down there to get fossils. And we found lots of Nidias, and we found Diplomistuses and a bunch of stuff. But we never found any really good Myopolises. We did find this one tail. That's why we wanted to find the rest of it is so bad, but unfortunately we didn't find it.
Move that one up more on the table.
This one?
Yeah, I moved that other stuff so you could put it on there better so it won't fall.
It's that much on. It's good.
All right.
Anyway, this tail is one of the best preserved fossils of all the ones that me and my boys found down there. So that would have really been a super good fish had we been able to find it all. Some of this
What's this right here?
I haven't seen for a long time. And I've got it stacked all over.
Oh, that's a nice one.
And this one's a Prispacara with the spines on it. There's actually 3 dark spines like this that stuck down. The one's laying against the body. This is a Nidia on top, the little herring, and the Prispacara. I don't know if I might have bought this fish here from a rock place, because I didn't remember finding any of these really nice Prispacaras either. This is a real small one. I might have bought that rock. And here's another, let's see, I wrote on this. Oh, this is a juvenile Ferriotus enchiladas. And the big fish out here on my fireplace is a big giant Ferriotus. This is definitely a Ferriotus with its fin structure, but this is a little teeny minnow baby, little juvenile Ferriotus. And that's quite a neat one to have a tiny baby fish that way. Those great big giant fish. And I don't know. Up to my ranch, we found a partial skeleton of a Mosaic. All of the rock layers on the west side of my ranch came out of the Cretaceous Seaway about 80 million years ago. the big seaway that went through the middle of the United States. It's called well, I just call it the Cretaceous Seaway. And you won't find any dinosaur bones in the rocks in the seaway unless one had floated out into the ocean or something and sank. But there's a lot of mosasaur bones, and we were putting in a water line up there, and we plowed out a bunch of these little these are definitely, they almost look like little backbones, like a backbone. But the mosasaur flippers, the joint, they had tons of rows of bones in their flippers that were like these little bones too. So we don't know if this is a flipper or an actual backbone of a small critter. Anyway, these are rocks we found on a ranch that are actually look like little vertebrae. Most of these are rocks that I've found. Here's a bunch more of these black Pennsylvanian coal fossils. Let's see what's in here. All of these things are, it's kind of like the mystery package, to open them up and find out what in the, oh.
He's excited.
I think I must have bought this one from a rock shop, but these are little teeny beetles. They probably came out of that parachute formation over in western Colorado, because that formation doesn't have very many fish or anything in it, but it's one of the best formations for getting insect fossils in the whole area. And these, I don't even know exactly what those are. Some kind of a
cockroach.
They have fat little bellies on them. And I think I bought this one. It probably cost $10 or something for that rock. I don't know what it would have cost.
How much do you think we could sell it for?
They're quite rare. Let's see, this little, it says they're dragonfly nymph. And the scientific name is Lobelia doris. Oh, they are from the Miocene period in Italy. These didn't come out of parasite form. Paradise formation. I said parasite. I meant paradise. These came from a layer in Italy. They say they're dragonfly nymphs. See, by keeping them in here with a little tag on them helps you to know exactly what you have. There's a lot of big rocks in there. I've got a whole bunch more fossil. Maybe we ought to get rid of all the fossil fish here first. Here's another, this one's a real hard rock. It's got a Nidia fish in it. Some of these rocks I can stack up. This is a hard one with a Nidia fish in it. Really dark. It's almost like this one right here. In fact, I think some of these came out of the same rock. We had a big giant slab of this, and we cut the fish out.
See, when I said it, I thought he could put these in the fireplace because they look like bricks.
Anyway, these are all
tile.
They all came out of that big heavy rock we had. And this rock,
that's thin.
I know, I'm trying to think. It broke also. It's been glued right here. It's quite thin. But this is I think I must have bought this rock, because this is a Prispacara. This is not one that I dug out or did anything with. That's a pretty nice fossil too, but it's also in this hard rock. Somebody's had one of those little power chisels they used to chisel out this hard rock. I didn't do that one. And then we go elk hunting up around Dead Man in Grays River in western Wyoming. And up in the top of Dead Man, years ago, there used to be an old coal mine up there. And they made a road up way up the canyon, it's almost 20 miles up in there, up to this old coal mine. And not very often when we'd be hunting would we ever go up to but there's a couple of times. Well, I'm getting ahead of myself. I still got some other fish here. But anyway, I've got this whole, maybe you can just show the box down in here. These are all fossil pine cones. Anyway, and then there's all kinds of fossil nuts. And this all came out, this whole box is stuff that we got out of the tailings up there at that old coal mine in Grays River, Wyoming, and Dead Man. Dead Man's a creek that feeds into Grays River, except for this rock. This was a rock that I found hiking up here to the geyser. Let me read about these fossil nuts first here, though. It says it's fossil nuts and shells from the Dead Man coal mine, western Wyoming. This Dead Man coal was in the Cretaceous period. Right at the end of the dinosaurs, and the rock layers that formed right after the end of the dinosaurs formed the coal that's down around Kemmer. Kemmer's became established and famous for its coal down there, and the railroads and things came into Kemmer down there to get the coal, and that came in a rock layer just right after the demise of the dinosaurs. But this Cretaceous coal was during the end of the dinosaur period, before the dinosaurs went extinct. There is a little bit of coal that formed in the world that wasn't in that Carboniferous period, and this was some of it. Says some of the nuts are smooth while other nuts are wrinkled like walnuts. These might be like, well, that one's a smooth one. And let's see if I can find the wrinkly ones. I don't know. But some of the little nuts are just, they're fossilized nuts. And this is just a little nut. And sometimes all you found was the shell where the little nut fit in right there. Sometimes I had those nuts. It might have been that this one that I just picked up here. I don't think that's the one that came out of in here. Anyway, sometimes you could get a piece of the shell, and then you could get the nut that would go into it too. And some of the nuts were weird shaped, like this is a nut with, you can see the shell all over and the big nut inside. Some of these nuts are probably extinct. We probably don't have, and it looks like they fit together in pairs. This is the bottom side, probably fit together onto another one. But the shells were real thin, and you can tell it's a nut with a shell around it, but you don't know what kind it is. If I knew more about the types of nuts and things. And some of these are in a different state of fossilization. Some of the little nuts were just rounded. This almost reminded me of a Brazil nut or something. Just, you know, like if you had a Brazil nut cracked all out whole. And anyway, you'd end up with all kinds of nuts, different shapes and different, there's a lot of rounded ones. The big pine cone nuts like this one, you can see the checkered texture to them. Okay. Here's another nut. This the shell. You can see the little depression where the nut's set right there. Anyway, that's what's pretty much in that box of stuff there. And then once hiking up in the mountains up here, most of the rock layers up here in the mountains are way older than these, than the dinosaur eras and stuff. And maybe back in the Devonian or some of those periods, there was a lot of different kinds of corals, because corals have been around for many hundreds of millions of years. Anyway, I found this little, let me bring it up close so you can see it. I found this little piece of rock, and this is gray ocean sediment type rock, is what most of the layers up here are, from the Devonian or the Pennsylvania, the Ordovician, Silurian, and Devonian. And those are the periods that are known as the era of the fish. And there was a lot of coral that, and this is called I had it in my mind a minute ago. This stuff is kind of like a honeycomb. Maybe it was honeycomb coral or something. It had these little pockets that made the honeycomb patterns. Anyway, so you could recognize this as one of those ancient honeycomb corals that I found. Okay, so that's kind of my nut collection from up here. Then in that box I had there's some kind of a bone right here with kind of like a hip joint bone on it. I don't know what kind of an animal that bone, but we found it in the rock layers, so we recognized it as a piece of bone. I guess I was showing it to Angela over here and she's not even there. Anyway, that's just some kind of a dinosaur bone of some sort that we found. And then these, in this sack, most of these are those little fossil shells. Let's see if I can get them close enough so you can actually see them. They're just little fossil shells with the little pointed ends, and the shell curls around. It's hard to show them with my fingers. Anyway, I have a whole sack of these. See if there's anything else in that sack. I don't know. They would have been put in here because there was this one right here is just some kind of a shell that's a little different than those other curled shells. Anyway, that's probably enough of those. There's some kind of a fossil in here, but I don't remember about that one. I'm just kind of going through these. Some of these are the insects that aren't too good. That's not too good of one. Oh, and this, I can tell about this one right here. That one sheet, this one's broken too. That one sheet that we cut these out of, these big heavy fossil Cnidias, that was a big piece, and somehow it flaked off and the surface broke off. And this is the ribs of this is the backbone. Let's get it up right, the backbone. Let's see if I can get it where you can see it. Keep forgetting I got to make everything so you can see it. This is already breaking apart. This is the backbone, and this is part of the bottom of the belly right here with the fin structures coming down. And these are ribs. This is a part of a great big giant Ferriotus fish. And we didn't know it was a giant Ferriotus fish at the time we were chipping it out, until later on we learned how to tell which was which better. It looks like it's falling apart here. I gotta Be careful with it and glue it back together. Those thin fossil sheets that have come off are better if they are laminated onto something more substantial. And this round curl, this is actually one of the few larger ammonite fossils that I found. It's not real distinct, but you can tell from the curl here that it's got some other fossils inside on it, but you can tell that this at one time was an old ammonite fossil. I guess over in England there's a place on the beach where you can find tons of these ammonite fossils. But around here we kind of get what we can find. Here's a little tiny fish. This one is a Diplomystus baby, a little teeny minnow Diplomystus. I recognize them. This is the head of a Nidia. It's a pretty nice head, but we're missing the rest of the fish. This curl right here, this rounded, see if I can get it up where you can see the rounded part. This is another, it's either the impression inside of a ammonite, or the rock layers we have here do have some signs of ammonites and stuff in them, but we don't get the super high quality fossils that we would really like. And this looks like just a piece of the old ocean bottom that has a shell in it. It's not too impressive. And then I think I've just got two more fish. This one is to figure out which is top and bottom on it. This one is one of these Myoplus, like this one tail that I have over here. See this tail right here? About that much of it. That's what this other tail is that I've got. See, if I were to put the tails together. Let's see, I get it oriented right. Anyway, I was trying to figure out how to do it so the tails were together. Let's put it this way. Put the tails together. Anyway, you can tell that that one and the one on here is the same structure, the same shape, same stuff. And this is a Diplomystus. I've got it written here on the side of the fossil. It says Diplomystus labracides or something. Can't pronounce some of these scientific names. That's the species name of that. And then I've just got one other fossil. This is a big, looks like a Nidia. Big fossil Nidia. Anyway, so that's pretty much my fossil collection that was in this box. Okay, that's about the show for this box of fossils. I hope you liked it.
Are you happy you have all that stuff?
Well, it's represented about 20 or 30 years of hiking around the country, going to a few little rock shops and different things. Some of this.
Well, you can't give it to Clint, his son Clint, because he had
he
some.
just throws stuff away anyway.
He doesn't want them. So you have enough you could give, but you know, you don't want to give them to people who don't care about it. Right? That's why I wanted you to put them in something like you could have made the whole countertop. But would you like it? Would you want to live with the kitchen countertop with these? I've seen them done, but...
Well, you have to have the ability laminate everything together. That they use that acrylic stuff to.
I know. Pour over it.
I've got to figure out this piece right here is all busting up on me right here.
Oh no. You need to wrap it. You'll have fun putting them away. Be glad you put the heavy pieces in the bottom that don't break.
I wished I had a.
Like that one.
This one is a real heavy one.
We just found out our good friend, he's Trevor and Todd's friend, the wife just died. That is so sad. They have 4 kids. Some kind of cancer, I guess. All right, goodbye.